My name is Amelia Rose Carter, and 6 months ago I was the happiest bride-to-be on planet Earth. I had a ring the size of a small planet on my finger, a fiancé named Ethan, who looked at me like I hung the moon, and a wedding fund I had been secretly building since I was 19. Every extra dollar from birthdays, overtime shifts, tax refunds, even the change jar in my kitchen went straight into a high-interest savings account labeled Dream Day. By the time Ethan proposed on that rainy pier in Seattle, the account held exactly $92,347.84. That was going to pay for the waterfront venue in Cannon Beach, the peony arches, the string quartet, the custom silk gown, the open bar, and a 10-day honeymoon in Bora Bora with overwater bungalows and sunrise breakfast delivered by canoe. I had spreadsheets color-coded by shade of blush pink. I was that girl. Then my older sister Vanessa happened. Vanessa is 3 years older, twice as loud, and has always believed the universe owes her a red carpet life, just because she is beautiful and dramatic. Growing up, she stole my clothes, my friends, my high school boyfriend for 2 weeks just to see. And every single time our parents would sigh and say she's going through a phase while I learned to hide anything I truly loved. When I got engaged, she hugged me so hard my ribs creaked and whispered, "I'm so happy for you, baby sis." But her eyes were already calculating. 2 weeks after the engagement party, I noticed strange charges on my joint checking account with Ethan. $400 at Nordstrom, $850 at a salon in Bellevue, $1,200 marked floral deposit. Ethan swore he hadn't touched the card. I logged into the wedding fund that night just to reassure myself everything was safe, and my heart stopped. Balance $312.46. $92,000 gone in 11 separate transfers over 9 days. Each one labeled gift to sister in the memo line. My own handwriting because I had once given Vanessa access for emergencies, only when mom was sick 5 years earlier. I had completely forgotten. I called her at 2 a.m. screaming. She answered sleepy and syrupy. "Oh, Ames, I was going to tell you tomorrow. I'm starting a luxury event planning business and I needed seed money. You have Ethan's tech salary now, you won't even miss it. Consider it an investment in family." I couldn't breathe. She went on. "Besides, your wedding is so basic. Peonies, Cannon Beach, sweetie. That's what middle-class people do. I'm saving you from embarrassment. When I'm famous, you'll thank me." I hung up and vomited in the kitchen sink. Ethan found me on the floor at dawn clutching printouts of the empty account. He held me while I ugly cried, and then in that calm voice he uses when servers crash at work, said we are getting every penny back and then some. But we do it smart. That was the moment I learned my gentle software engineer fiancé has a vindictive streak sharper than any sword. First, we lawyered up. A forensic accountant friend of Ethan's traced the money in 48 hours, $30,000 already spent on a leased white Range Rover, $25,000 on a launch party for her non-existent company, $18,000 on designer clothes with the tag still on, and the rest sitting in her new business account. My lawyer sent a demand letter return the money in full within 10 days, or we file criminal charges for theft over $50,000 a felony in Washington state. Vanessa laughed in my mother's living room, waved the letter like a joke and said, "Go ahead. Mom and Dad will never let you send their princess to jail." She was half right. Mom cried. Dad begged me to keep the peace, and Vanessa played the victim so well, she had them believing I was jealous of her entrepreneurial spirit. Family group chat turned into a war zone. My cousins unfollowed me. My aunt sent me a private message calling me selfish. I stopped sleeping. That was when Ethan said, "Okay. Plan B. We let her keep the money for now." I thought he had lost his mind until he laid out the new timeline like a battle map. Step 1. We quietly canceled the Cannon Beach venue and booked something 10 times more expensive, the glass-walled Cliff House in Santorini, Greece, the kind of place where celebrities get married and regular mortals sell kidneys to afford. $180,000 total for 3 days, including private yacht transfers and a fireworks show synced to Vivaldi. We paid the deposit from Ethan's bonus and took out a short-term loan against his stock options. The new guest list shrank from 180 to 60 of our closest friends. No family except our parents. Invitations went out on thick cream cardstock with gold foil. Your presence is the only gift we request. Vanessa lost her mind when her invitation arrived. She video called me screaming that I had stolen her dream wedding, and how dare I exclude her from Greece. I put her on speaker so Ethan could hear. He smiled the calm smile of a man who has already won. Step 2. We fed her ego. Ethan created a fake luxury brand Instagram account and started liking all her posts, commenting things like, "Obsessed with your taste, future collaborator." Vanessa, smelling fame, began posting daily about big secret projects and Santorini shoots. She even announced she was coming to Greece early to scout locations for her brand launch. Perfect. Step 3. The trap. We opened a joint wedding expense account in both our names and seeded it with $200,000 from Ethan's trust money his grandmother left him that Vanessa knew nothing about. Then we made sure she saw the balance. A careless screenshot left on the kitchen counter during her surprise visit, a banking app left open on Ethan's phone in the living room. She took the bait like a starving shark. 3 weeks before the wedding, she transferred another $150,000 from that account into her own, thinking we were too busy with seeding charts to notice until after the honeymoon. She even left a memo this time. Borrowing for production costs will repay with interest after launch, hearts, hearts, hearts. The money bought first-class tickets for her and her 2 best friends, a private villa next to our venue, custom wardrobe, and a content creator package with drone photographers following her around Santorini, like she was the bride. I discovered the theft on purpose, staged a public meltdown on the phone, loud enough for her to hear through the wall at Mom's house, and then did absolutely nothing. No police report, no confrontation. Just radio silence. Vanessa floated into Greece 5 days early, posting sun-kissed stories with captions like, "Living my main character era," and "Manifesting bigger things." She rented a golf cart painted with her new logo and drove around the caldera like she owned the island. Our parents arrived 2 days later, confused, but excited, still believing both daughters were simply living their best lives. The wedding morning dawned, perfect sapphire water white buildings, glowing bougainvillea, exploding purple against the sky. I wore the custom silk gown that cost more than most cars, pearls sewn into the train veil longer than the aisle itself. Ethan looked like a prince in midnight blue. Our friends wept during vows. The string quartet played our song. It was everything I had ever dreamed, and more. The reception was held on a cliff at sunset tables, dripping in orchids flown in from Thailand, champagne older than both of us, a Greek band mixed with a DJ from Ibiza. Vanessa arrived late naturally in a white dress, only 2 shades away from bridal hair extensions to her waist, entourage trailing with ring lights. She kissed Mom on both cheeks, air-kissed Dad, then made a beeline for me, arms wide. "Ames, you look cute, very beach boho. I brought you a little surprise to elevate the vibe." She snapped her fingers, and one of her friends wheeled out a cart with crystal champagne flutes, etched with her new logo. Gift from the brand, obviously. I smiled the sweetest smile I had practiced in the mirror for weeks. "Vanessa, you shouldn't have. Actually, I have a surprise for you too." The string quartet stopped mid-note. The DJ killed the music. Ethan tapped a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, voice carrying over the cliffs, "before we cut the cake, the bride has a special presentation for her maid of honor." Vanessa preened, already positioning herself for photos. I walked to the head table where a laptop-weighted projector aimed at the massive white wall behind us. The first slide appeared a screenshot of my original wedding fund, $92,347.84. The room went quiet. I clicked next slide, the empty balance after her transfers. Click. Bank records showing every dollar she spent: Range Rover lease launch party at the Four Seasons, the $18,000 on clothes, still with tags. Click. The second theft, $150,000 from the joint account memo visible. Borrowing for production costs, heart, heart, heart. Gasps rippled through the tables. Vanessa's face drained of color so fast, I thought she might faint. Click. A live feed opened security footage from the villa she was staying in, time-stamped yesterday, showing her and her friends laughing about the dumb sister who will never notice until we're back in the States. The projector screen filled with the final slide total amount stolen $242,347.84 in bold red letters. Then the best part. Two Greek police officers in crisp uniforms stepped out from behind the floral arch where they had been waiting for 20 silent minutes. They walked straight to Vanessa. "Miss Vanessa Carter," one asked in accented English, "you are under arrest for theft and fraud. The amount exceeds $200,000. Please come with us." She screamed. Actually screamed like someone in a horror movie. Her friends dropped their phones. Mom fainted into Dad's arms. Vanessa tried to run in 6-inch heels on cobblestone and face-planted spectacularly. The officers cuffed her while the DJ on Ethan's earlier instructions played the theme from Cops at low volume. Our guests, half of them were lawyers, accountants, or cops themselves. Ethan's colleagues who had flown in for the party of the year started slow clapping. I leaned down to my sister's ear as the officers lifted her up, mascara rivers down her cheeks, white dress ripped and dirty. "Vanessa," I whispered, "you paid for every single flower, every bottle of champagne, every firework tonight. That $24,200 you stole, it's exactly what this wedding cost. Consider it your wedding gift to me, and the honeymoon already paid in full by you." She looked at me with pure hatred, lipstick-smeared hair extensions askew, and for the first time in our lives, I wasn't the little sister anymore. I was the one who won. The officers dragged Vanessa away, kicking and shrieking across the white stones, while the sunset painted everything blood orange behind her. Her white dress caught on a bougainvillea thorn and ripped from hem to thigh, exposing the orange spray tan lines she had bragged about on Instagram that morning. One heel snapped clean off, and she hopped like a broken flamingo until the taller officer simply lifted her under the arms like a toddler having a tantrum. The guests weren't even pretending not to film anymore. Phones were up, ring lights flashing, the whole thing going live to 30 different stories at once. By the time the police van disappeared down the narrow road, the hashtag Santorini bride arrest was already trending in Greece. I turned back to the crowd, lifted my champagne flute, and said in the sweetest voice I could manage, "Cake time, everybody." The band struck up Sweet Caroline like nothing had happened, and the party roared back to life louder than before. People kept coming up to hug me, whispering, "That was the most iconic thing I've ever seen," and "Tell me you hired a cinematographer for that." Ethan just kissed my temple and murmured, "Phase 1 complete." Mom was on the floor being fanned with a menu by Dad, who looked like he had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. I walked over, crouched in my 20-pound gown, and patted her cheek gently. "Mom, breathe. Vanessa is fine. She's just going to miss the fireworks." Mom started wailing louder, so I signaled the waiter for another champagne and left them to it. Some things you can't fix in one evening. The rest of the night was pure magic. We danced until the DJ begged for mercy. We swam in the infinity pool fully clothed. We set off 20 minutes of fireworks that lit the caldera like daylight. At 3 a.m., Ethan carried me over the threshold of the bridal villa, where rose petals spelled Mrs. Carter on the bed, and a bottle of 1996 Dom Perignon waited in a bucket of ice carved into a swan. We popped the cork, drank straight from the bottle, and laughed until we cried about how perfectly everything had exploded. But that was only the opening act. The next morning, the internet did what the internet does best. Clips of Vanessa being dragged away in cuffs went viral overnight. Greek news picked it up, then CNN International, then every bridal Facebook group on the planet. Someone slowed down the faceplant and added the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme. Someone else photoshopped devil horns on her. By breakfast, the video had 40 million views, and hashtag wedding gift from hell was trending worldwide. Vanessa spent the night in a holding cell in Fira. Because the amount was so large, the local station didn't know what to do with an American influencer screaming about diplomatic immunity. She called Mom 47 times. Mom called me crying. I silenced my phone and ordered pancakes with gold leaf because why not? Phase 2 started the moment we landed back in Seattle 2 days later. Tanned, married, and still buzzing from champagne and revenge. The Greek police had released Vanessa on a €50,000 bail that Ethan's lawyer friend in Athens quietly paid from a separate account. Just enough to get her on the same flight home, thinking she had dodged the bullet. She texted me from the plane, "This isn't over, little sister," with 17 knife emojis. I screenshot it and forwarded it to the prosecutor. Back in Washington, the felony theft warrant was waiting for her at SeaTac Customs. She was pulled out of line, recuffed in front of the same influencers who had flown first class with her, and taken straight to King County Jail. This time, no bail. The prosecutor tacked on identity theft and wire fraud because she had used my old login credentials. Bond set at $500,000. Mom and Dad couldn't even dream of covering it. That's when the real fun began. Vanessa's luxury event planning Instagram lost 200,000 followers in 48 hours. Brands she had tagged in her Santorini posts issued statements distancing themselves. The Range Rover got repossessed in the middle of her live meltdown. Her two best friends started posting apologies. We had no idea the money was stolen. The internet crowned me the patron saint of petty. But I wasn't done. I still had the honeymoon to collect. We had postponed Bora Bora until after the legal mess settled, because Ethan said, "Let her stew first." 6 weeks later, the judge froze all of Vanessa's accounts, including the one where the remaining stolen money sat. Turns out, after paying lawyers and bail bondsmen, she had maybe $11,000 left. Not nearly enough. So I filed a civil suit for the full $242,347.84, plus emotional damages, legal fees, and cost of upgraded wedding experience. My lawyer attached invoices for every orchid, every yacht bottle service, the fireworks permit, the custom gown, even the gold leaf pancakes. Total came to $241,998.12. The judge granted summary judgment in 3 weeks because Vanessa's only defense was, "My sister is jealous and dramatic." The court ordered garnishment of future wages, liens on any property, and, my personal favorite, seizure of personal assets to satisfy the debt. That's how on a rainy Tuesday in October, 2 deputy sheriffs showed up at Mom and Dad's house with a moving truck and a court order. Vanessa was living in her childhood bedroom because she had nowhere else to go. They took the leased Range Rover again, her MacBook Pro, her designer handbag collection still with tags, the 65-inch TV she bought with my money, even the ring light setup from Santorini. Everything appraised and auctioned off online. Total recovery, $38,000, still short. So the court got creative. The judge allowed equitable relief, meaning any future income or assets Vanessa acquired until the debt was paid in full would be seized. She got a job at a high-end bridal salon because irony is delicious. 30% of every paycheck went straight to me. She tried OnlyFans next, thinking she could make fast cash. The court attached that too. Every time a subscriber tipped, the money routed to my account before she ever saw it. She rage quit after 3 days when she realized I was literally getting paid every time someone called her gorgeous. Mom begged me to drop the suit. She's learned her lesson. I invited Mom to the house and showed her the Bora Bora itinerary still booked for the original dates. 10 nights, overwater villa, private plunge pool, seaplane transfers, couples massage on a sandbank at sunset. Total cost after taxes and tips, $43,000. I was $192,000 short still. That's when phase 3 began, the one Ethan called the long game. Vanessa decided to fight dirty. She started a GoFundMe titled, "Help Me Escape My Abusive Sister's Harassment," with a sob story about how I framed her and ruined her wedding business dream. It raised $87,000 in 2 weeks from strangers who love an underdog. She thought she was free. The same day the campaign hit the goal, I had my lawyer file an emergency motion. GoFundMe froze the funds pending investigation. Turns out when you're under a court judgment for theft, you can't crowdfund your way out of it. The entire $87,000 was seized and applied directly to my judgment. Vanessa lost her mind on TikTok Live, screaming, crying, throwing her phone. The clip got 90 million views. Someone remixed it into a ringtone. She moved out of mom and dad's house and in with a shady boyfriend who ran a crypto scheme. 3 months later, the FBI raided his apartment. Guess whose name was on the lease as co-signer? Because her credit was destroyed. Guess who lost another $12,000 in seized assets when they froze everything? By our first anniversary, the judgment balance was down to $73,000. I sent Vanessa a save the date for our vow renewal. Same cliff house in Santorini. Same weekend. Exactly 1 year later. Inside, I wrote in gold ink, "Your presence is required. Payment plan attached." She didn't come, of course. But the remaining balance did. Wired from an account in her name the morning of the event. Turns out the court can force sale of future inheritance expectancies. Mom and dad had to refinance their house to protect the equity and pay off the last chunk so their precious princess wouldn't lose the family home too. We renewed our vows at sunset with 20 of the same friends. No drama this time, just laughter and champagne, and the most perfect peace I have ever felt. When the fireworks started, I raised my glass to the empty seat where the maid of honor should have been and whispered, "Thank you for the honeymoon, sis." And somewhere in Seattle, Vanessa was working the closing shift at a coffee shop because bridal salons wouldn't hire her anymore. 30% of every latte going straight into my vacation fund. Karma doesn't always wear cuffs. Sometimes she just sips pina coladas on a deck you paid for and smiles. 2 years after the Santorini arrest, Vanessa was a ghost of herself. The girl who once walked into rooms like she owned them now wore a green apron and a name tag that said Ness, because nobody could spell Vanessa correctly on the first try. She worked the 5 a.m. shift at a 24-hour coffee chain near the university, the one with the cracked sidewalk and the tip jar that usually held $3 and a button. 30% of every paycheck, every cash tip, every gift card reload was electronically swept into my account before she ever saw it. The court called it aggressive garnishment.
If anyone here has just cause, the deputy tapped Tristan on the shoulder. "Sir, I have a court order freezing all assets acquired through this marriage until a prior judgment is satisfied." He handed over the paperwork. The officiant stopped talking. 300 heads turned. Vanessa's face went the color of spoiled milk. Tristan read the first page, looked at Vanessa, read the second page, looked at me standing calmly at the back in a simple cream sundress. His mother started hyperventilating into a paper bag. Vanessa tried to run, but the train of her dress caught on the heel of her crystal Louboutins, and she fell face first into the peacock enclosure. Feathers everywhere, live stream still rolling because someone's cousin was on Instagram. The deputy shrugged. "I can't let you finish the ceremony until the lien is resolved. That's the law. Chaos. Guests screaming, peacocks screeching, Vanessa on the ground covered in bird shit, and $20,000 worth of Swarovski crystals. Tristan just stood there, holding the papers like they were written in fire. I walked down the aisle. Everyone had cleared for the bride. Stepped over Vanessa, who was sobbing, "This can't be happening again," and handed Tristan a pen. $1 million by wire right now, and the lien disappears in 60 seconds, I said quietly, so only the front row could hear. "Or the wedding is legally impossible, and your family name becomes a meme for the second time in 3 years." His mother was already on the phone screaming at the bank. Vanessa was on her knees clawing at my ankles. "Please, Amelia, I'm begging you, I'll do anything." I looked down at her, mascara waterfalls, veil torn, peacocks pecking at the crystals on her train. "Anything I asked." She nodded frantically. I pulled a folded sheet from my purse, the apology letter I had written for her months ago. Every detail of the theft, every lie, every insult, ending with, "I ruined my sister's wedding dreams, and I deserve every consequence." Read this aloud right now on that microphone, and the lien vanishes. She stared at the paper like it was poison. The officiant handed her the mic. The peacocks quieted. 300 phones were up. Vanessa stood up, covered in feathers and shame, and started reading in a voice that cracked like ice. My name is Vanessa Carter, and 2 years ago, I stole my sister Amelia's entire wedding fund of $92,000, every word broadcast live to 500,000 viewers within minutes. When she finished the last line, I am deeply sorry, and I will spend the rest of my life making it right. The bank text came through on my phone. Transfer complete, $1 million. I nodded to the deputy. He stamped the release form. The officiant cleared his throat and said, "Well, do you, Tristan, take this woman?" Tristan looked at me. I smiled and walked back down the aisle to where Ethan waited with 2 glasses of champagne he had stolen from a passing waiter. They got married. Eventually. After the peacocks were corralled, and Vanessa changed into the backup dress, and the live stream was cut, and the guests pretended nothing happened. But the video of the confession went more viral than the Santorini arrest ever did. Brands dropped her before the cake was cut. Tristan's family cut her allowance to 0. And 1 week later, he filed for annulment citing fraud, because turns out the prenup he made her sign the night before had a morality clause. Vanessa got nothing. Not the ring, not the name, not even the peacock's eye, on the other hand, took that $1 million, paid off our house, bought Ethan the Tesla he never asked for, and put the rest into new account labeled Future Children's Weddings, Touch This and Die. Sometimes late at night, I still get a random Venmo from an unknown account. $5, $10, $20, always the same memo. For the honeymoon fund, I'm sorry. I never accept it. Some debts can't be paid with money. 3 years after the peacock wedding, Vanessa disappeared. Not dramatically like in movies. No suicide note, no cryptic Instagram post, just gone. She quit the coffee shop without notice. Her studio apartment sat empty with the keys in the mailbox, and her phone went straight to voicemail forever. Mum called me once a week sobbing, "Do you think she's dead?" And I would say, "No, Mum, she's just finally smart enough to hide." The judgment was down to $12,000 because garnishment kept trickling in from random side gigs she did under fake names. But the trail went cold. For the first time in years, I stopped checking bank alerts every morning. Ethan and I had a baby on the way, a little girl we were naming Rose after my grandmother, and life felt almost too good. Then one Tuesday in April, I opened my front door to find a thick cream envelope with no return address, my name written in handwriting I hadn't seen since. High school. Inside was a single invitation on heavy cardstock, gold foil edges, the kind that costs $20 each just to print. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Vanessa Marie Carter and Dr. Malcolm James Harrington III. Saturday the 14th of September. The Harrington Estate, Napa Valley, California. Black tie, no gifts. Presence is the only requirement at the bottom in her perfect cursive. This time it's real, Ames. Please come. I'm begging. I laughed so hard I had to sit on the stairs. Ethan read it over my shoulder and just said, "Oh, hell no." Then, "Oh, hell yes," when he realized what this meant. Vanessa had done it again. Found another rich idiot. This time a 42-year-old cardiologist who owned 3 vineyards and a private jet. Malcolm was recently widowed, no kids, lonely, and according to the society pages, seeking a fresh start with a vibrant young woman who makes him feel alive again. Translation: prime target. I called the only person who still spoke to her, our cousin Lila, who does makeup for influencers. Lila spilled everything over wine. Vanessa had been living in Mexico for 18 months under the name Valerie Cortez, doing wedding makeup for destination brides, saving every penny, getting subtle plastic surgery, nose, lips, chin, until she looked just different enough that facial recognition apps wouldn't flag the old arrest videos. She flew to Napa 6 months ago for a girls' trip, met Malcolm at a charity gala, and within weeks had him convinced she was a sweet girl from a tragic family who just needed love to heal. He proposed on a hot air balloon at sunrise with a 6-carat pink diamond. The wedding budget, was $5 million. $5 million. Ethan looked at me across the kitchen table and asked the question we both already knew the answer to. Do we end her again? I was 7 months pregnant, swollen feet, heartburn that could power a small city, and still the old fire flared up in my chest. We don't end her, I said. We finish her, permanently. Operation Napa began. First, we confirmed the lien was still active. The original judgment had no expiration as long as I renewed it every 10 years, and I had renewed it religiously. Any asset Vanessa acquired through marriage was still fair game. But this time, we went bigger. My lawyer filed in California for a sister state judgment, meaning the Washington order was now enforceable in Napa County with the same priority as if it originated there. We attached a rider for punitive multipliers because of her flight to Mexico and identity change, arguing fraud on top of fraud. The new total claim, $1.8 million, including interest and legal fees. Second, we found Malcolm's weakness. He was paranoid about gold diggers because wife number one had cleaned him out. He made Vanessa sign an ironclad prenup. Infidelity, fraud, or criminal history discovered post-marriage voided everything. She walked away with $10,000 and a bus ticket. Perfect. Third, we waited. The wedding week arrived. 500 guests. Oprah was rumored to be coming. The cake was her exact replica of Versailles made of sugar. Vanessa had a team of 12 bridesmaids, all paid influencers who called her Queen. She posted cryptic stories about redemption arcs and healing sister wounds with crying emojis, clearly hoping I would see and feel bad. I felt nothing except the baby kicking every time I laughed. Ethan and I flew down 2 days early, checked into the same resort under his company name so she wouldn't see the reservation. I was huge, waddling, but I wore flowy dresses and big hats, and nobody recognized the pregnant lady as the infamous sister. We hired a private investigator who used to work LAPD paparazzi division, gave him $20,000 cash and one instruction: get me undeniable proof of who she really is, today. He delivered the same afternoon. Vanessa had kept a storage unit in Tijuana under her old name. Inside, the original fake passport she used to flee, hard drives with her old social media backups, and, most damning, a journal where she wrote daily about fooling the doctor and "this one will finally set me up for life." The PI photographed every page. We had her. Now for the timing. The rehearsal dinner was held in the Harrington Wine Cave. Fairy lights, string quartet, tables set with gold flatware flown in from Paris. Malcolm's entire family was there. His mother, who still wore mourning black for wife number one. His 3 sisters, who already hated Vanessa on sight. I wasn't invited, of course, but Ethan was a +1 to a venture capitalist friend who owed him a favor. He wore a wire. I sat in the resort spa getting a pregnancy-safe massage while listening to everything live. Vanessa gave a tearful toast about learning from past mistakes and the sister who taught me what family really means. The room awed. Malcolm kissed her like she was made of glass. At 9:17 p.m., Ethan texted, "Now." I called the Napa County Sheriff's deputy we had on standby, the same one who served high-profile warrants and loved drama. Gave him the address, the storage unit photos, the journal excerpts, everything. Told him the bride was a fugitive using a false identity to commit marriage fraud. He was there in 12 minutes. The cave doors opened and 4 deputies walked in with flashlights. Vanessa Marie Carter, also known as Valerie Cortez. You're under arrest for felony fraud, identity theft, and violation of a standing civil judgment. The string quartet screeched to a halt. Malcolm dropped his $400 glass of 1945 Chateau d'Yquem. It shattered like gunfire. Vanessa tried the old trick, screaming, "This is my evil sister again." But when they read her real social security number from the journal, she went dead silent. Malcolm's mother stood up slowly, black lace veil fluttering, and said in the coldest voice I've ever heard, "Take her out the service entrance. I don't want the guests to see trash being removed." They cuffed her in front of the ice sculpture. Someone started filming. By the time she was in the squad car, number Napa Bride Arrest 2 was trending higher than the first one. Malcolm annulled the marriage before she even made it to booking. The prenup snapped like a bear trap. She got the $10,000 and Greyhound ticket to anywhere but here. The $5 million wedding was cancelled. Deposits non-refundable. Guests flew home furious. The cake melted in the sun. The peacocks they had rented again, because Vanessa never learns, escaped and terrorized the vineyard for weeks. Vanessa spent 4 months in Napa County Jail, waiting for extradition back to Washington to face the old charges plus new ones. Mom visited once, came home, and finally said the words I had waited 8 years to hear. I'm done protecting her, so she's not my daughter anymore. When Vanessa was transferred back to King County, she was broke, homeless, and facing 5 to 7 years. The prosecutor offered a plea: 3 years prison, $50,000 fine, 10 years probation, and permanent ban from ever working in weddings or events. She took it the same day. On the morning she was sentenced, I was in the hospital delivering Rose. Perfect timing. Ethan sent me a text from the courthouse. She asked the judge if you were there. He said no. She cried. I looked at my daughter, pink and screaming, and mine, and felt nothing for the sister who tried to steal every happy day I ever had. Some people say blood is thicker than water. I say justice is thicker than blood. 5 years passed like a slow, sweet exhale. Rose turned 4 and started asking why Aunt Vanessa never came to birthday parties. I told her the truth in the simplest way a child can understand. Some people take things that aren't theirs, and when they do, they have to go far away until they learn not to take anymore. Rose nodded solemnly, stuffed her unicorn and said, "Okay, Mummy, can we have chocolate cake now?" Kids make everything easier. Vanessa served 38 months of her 3-year sentence because good behavior still counts even for serial thieves. She got out in March, quiet, no press, no Instagram comeback, just a Greyhound bus ticket to Spokane where Mum had arranged a basement room in exchange for caregiving. Dad's Parkinson's had gotten bad, and Mom needed help lifting him. The universe has a sense of humor. I never visited, never wrote. The judgment was marked satisfied years earlier because the state seized her prison commissary account, her COVID stimulus checks, even the $400 she made folding laundry for the inmate fund. The last automatic deposit hit my account the day she walked free $3.47 from selling cigarettes she never smoked. I closed the account and deleted the app. It was finally over. Or so I thought. Last month on a random Tuesday, my phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in a decade. Mum. She never calls anymore, just texts pictures of Rose's school artwork that I send for Grandma. I answered, expecting another forward of a dancing cat video. Instead, I heard crying. Vanessa is dying. Amelia, pancreatic cancer stage 4, 6 weeks, maybe 8. She's in hospice at home. She won't stop asking for you. I sat down hard on the kitchen floor. Rose was at preschool, Ethan at work. The house silent except for Mom's broken breathing on the line. She left a letter for you, Mum whispered. She wrote it when the pain got bad. The nurse reads it to her every day because her hands shake too much now. She just keeps saying, I need my sister to know I'm sorry for real this time. I drove to Spokane the next morning alone. 6 hours on I-90, watching the mountains turn from green to gold to the brown scrub of eastern Washington. I told myself I was going for closure for Rose one day, so she would never wonder why Mommy hated her aunt. But mostly, I think I was tired of carrying the weight. The house smelled like medicine and boiled cabbage. Dad was asleep in the recliner TV flickering on his face. Mom met me at the door, eyes red, arms thin. She hugged me like I was the one dying. Vanessa was in the back bedroom, the one that used to be mine when we visited Grandma. The walls were still the same pale lavender I painted it. And I called it interest. But people adapt. Vanessa learned to live on the remaining 70%. She cut her hair into a cheap bob, sold the last of her designer bags on Poshmark for pennies, and moved into a studio the size of a walk-in closet above a vape shop. She blocked me on everything, changed her number twice, and told anyone who asked that her sister had died in Greece. Some days, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then she got engaged. His name was Tristan Whitmore, 35, trust fund baby, whose family owned half the timberland in Washington state. Tall, blonde, boringly handsome, the kind of man who wore Patagonia vests to board meetings and posted black and white photos of his golden retriever with captions like "Simple Pleasures." They met when he ordered a triple-shot oat milk latte, and she spelled his name wrong on the cup. He thought it was cute. She saw dollar signs. Within 4 months, she had a 2-carat Asher-cut diamond on her finger and was posting ring selfies with the caption, "He put a ring on it before I even finished his order hearts." The internet went wild trying to figure out who the mystery barista was that tamed the most eligible bachelor in Seattle. Old videos of the Santorini arrest resurfaced. Comments flooded in. "Wait, isn't that the sister who got arrested at a wedding?" Vanessa turned comments off and went private. Tristan, sweet, clueless Tristan, thought the whole thing was tabloid nonsense. He paid for a PR team to scrub her name, hired her a stylist, and started planning the wedding of her actual dreams. A 3-day event at the Whitmore family estate on Lake Washington. 300 guests, live peacocks, a celebrity officiant who once married a Kardashian. Budget, $2 million, all on him. I found out the way everyone finds out everything these days. A mutual friend from high school tagged me in a comment. "Amelia, you seeing this?" With a screenshot of Vanessa's engagement post. I stared at the photo for a long time. She looked happy, genuinely happy. The kind of happy I used to be before she stole my future. Ethan was in the kitchen making coffee when I walked in and slid my phone across the counter. He read it, raised one eyebrow, and said the sentence that restarted the war. "She's about to become very rich again. We can't let that happen." Phase 4 was born over pancakes. We still had $73,000 left on the judgment, but more importantly, we still had the moral high ground and a very patient judge. Washington law allows judgment creditors to place liens on any future inheritance or marital property if fraud was involved in the original theft. My lawyer filed a notice of continuing lien on any and all assets Vanessa might acquire through marriage, including gifts, trusts, or joint accounts. It was perfectly legal and almost never used because nobody is usually this petty. Almost. Tristan's family lawyer caught it 2 weeks before the wedding and lost his mind. A lien on a Whitmore? Unthinkable. They offered to settle the remaining $73,000 immediately if I removed it. I countered with $500,000 and a public apology video from Vanessa admitting everything. They laughed. I waited. The wedding was set for the first Saturday in June. Invitations thicker than phone books went out to governors, CEOs, old money, new money, anyone who mattered in the Pacific Northwest. Vanessa finally unblocked me just long enough to send a single message. "Stay away from my day, or I'll have security drag you out like you did to me." I replied with a single thumbs up emoji and booked a haircut. 3 days before the ceremony, Tristan's mother called me herself. Southern accent, old Charleston money, voice like iced tea with arsenic. "Mrs. Carter, let's be reasonable. Name your price to make this go away." I named it. $1 million wired by 5 p.m. the day before the wedding, plus a handwritten letter from Vanessa to be read aloud at the rehearsal dinner admitting she stole my wedding fund and ruined my original plans. Silence on the line so long, I thought she hung up.
And then, "You're a monster." I said, "No, ma'am. I'm just the little sister who learned from the best." She hung up. The money never came. So on the morning of the wedding, Ethan and I put on our Sunday best and drove to the Whitmore estate with a certified copy of the lien, a court officer, and a very bored deputy sheriff who was getting overtime. We waited at the security gate with the rest of the florists and photographers until exactly 11:03 a.m., the moment the marriage license would be signed, making all assets joint property. The deputy walked up to the rose-covered arch where Vanessa stood in a $65,000 Vera Wang ball gown, veil longer than a football field. Tristan beaming beside her in white tie. The officiant was mid-sentence, 14. She lay in a hospital bed facing the window, skin yellow, bones sharp under the blanket. An IV dripped morphine slow and steady. When she heard the door, she turned her head, and I almost didn't recognize her. No extensions, no filler, no fake lashes, just Vanessa at 38 looking 80. Amelia. She rasped voice like dry leaves. You came. I stood at the foot of the bed, hands clenched in my coat pockets. Mom closed the door behind me, leaving us alone for the first time since Santorini. She tried to sit up, failed, and started crying silent tears that cut tracks through the medical cream on her cheeks. I wrote you a letter, she said, pointing to a pink envelope on the bedside table thick as a book. Took me 6 months. The nurse helped when my hands stopped working. Read it when I'm gone if you want. Or burn it. I don't care. I just needed to say it while I still could. I didn't move. She took a shaky breath. I was jealous of you from the day you were born. You were soft, where I was sharp. Pretty, where I had to work at it smart without trying. Mom and Dad loved you more, because you never asked for anything, and that made me hate you more. Stealing your wedding wasn't about the money. It was about proving I could take the one thing you wanted most, and you'd still survive because you always did. Turns out I was the one who didn't survive it. I swallowed hard, but said nothing. The cancer, she continued, is the fast kind. Doctor said I probably had it growing when I got out of prison. Karma, I guess. She laughed, then coughed blood into a pink basin. When it passed, she looked at me straight. No performance, no tears, just empty eyes. I don't want forgiveness, Ames. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know I see it now. Every day in that cell, every night the pain wakes me up. I see your face on that cliff in Greece, when you finally look taller than me. That's the image I'm taking with me. The day my little sister beat me, and I finally shut up. Silence stretched so long the morphine pump clicked like a clock. There's something else, she whispered. Bottom drawer. I opened it. Inside was a small wooden box, the kind jewelry comes in. I lifted the lid. On black velvet sat the ugliest necklace I had ever seen. Cheap gold chain, fake emerald pendant, the kind you win at a carnival. But I knew it instantly. I was 9. She was 12. We pooled our allowance for 3 months to buy Mom a real necklace for Mother's Day, but spent it on arcade tokens instead. This was the consolation prize Vanessa won on the last quarter. She told Mom it was real white gold and emerald. Mom wore it proudly for years. I took it from Vanessa when Mom died, she said, voice barely air. Kept it all this time. Only nice thing I ever gave anyone. I want you to have it now. For Rose. Tell her aunt was a liar and a thief, but once upon a time she won something shiny just for her mommy. Her hand found mine, cold bony fingers curling around my warm ones. I'm scared, Amelia. Not of dying, of being forgotten, as the villain in everyone's story. If you can find one tiny piece of good to remember me by, I'll go easier. I looked at the necklace, then at her face. The face that used to be beautiful, and cruel, and jealous, and mine. The sister who taught me how to fight, how to win, how to never trust blindly again. I closed her fingers over the necklace, and kept my hand on top. You're not forgotten, I said. You're the reason I'm strong. The reason I check locks twice, teach Rose to stand up for herself, never leave my drink unattended. You made me who I am. That's not nothing. She smiled, then really smiled for the first time since we were kids, teeth, gray eyes bright. Thank you, little sister. She died 3 days later. Peaceful, the nurse said. Mom called me at 2:17 a.m. I was awake feeding the new baby, our son James, born 6 weeks early, but perfect. I hung up, I looked at Ethan holding our son, and started crying for reasons I still can't name. We buried her on a windy hill in Spokane, next to Grandma. Small service. Just Mom, Dad, me. Ethan, the kids, and Cousin Lila. No eulogy, no flowers. Just a plain wooden casket paid for by the state. I placed the carnival necklace on top before they lowered her. The chain broke as the dirt started falling. The fake emerald rolled into the grave and stayed there, glinting like a tiny green star. On the drive home, Rose asked if Aunt Vanessa was in heaven now. I thought about it for a long time, Dot. Maybe, I said. Or maybe she's somewhere learning how to give instead of take. Either way, she's not hurting anymore. That night, I opened the pink envelope. 200 pages, handwritten front and back. Every theft, every lie, every time she wished me harm, every time she was secretly proud of me. The last page was dated the day before I visited. If you're reading this, I'm gone and you came. That's enough. You won. Live happy Ames. Buy your kids the real emeralds. Love them hard. And if they ever ask about their aunt, tell them she was the storm that taught you how to build a stronger house. I closed the letter, put it in the fire safe with our passports and Rose's birth certificate, and never opened it again. Some stories don't end with handcuffs, or $1,000,000 wires, or viral videos. Sometimes they end in a quiet room with two sisters holding hands one last time. The thief, and the one who finally learned mercy, is also a kind of victory. I still check locks twice. I still teach my daughter to stand tall. But now when I tell the story, I don't call her the villain anymore. I call her the price I paid to become unbreakable. And that was worth every stolen dollar.